Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for being here, MH370X. You know I love you guys. Guys, right off the bat, did you know that Oppenheimer cried like a little bitch after they dropped the bomb? Harry Truman basically put him in a room and gave him a tissue and said, "Oh, you gonna cry about it? Oh, that is some cold-blooded shit." It's actually 100% true also. Wow. It kind of put in context for me, like, can't really cry about what happened to MH370 because we just drop bombs on people and nukes on towns and, give people tissues. Say don't cry about it. Pretty wild. Okay, guys, tonight the plan is to go over something a little bit different. We're going to talk about secret underwater UFO bases. You might say, Ashton, have you lost your damn mind? I thought you talked about physics and science. You never talk about alien stuff. Well, I got to be honest. This is one of the rare times where it feels like there might be a there. And when you look at it through the lens of the technology that we've been exposing, the answers kind of line up. So that's the reason why we're looking at it. Plus, I'm just kind of tired of doing hard science every single day and really deep, dark content. Actually, that can't be the answer because this is dark as hell as well. But whatever, you get the point. So if you're not familiar with, oh man, I'm having a hair day. If you're not familiar with the 4chan leaker from maybe about 2 years ago at this point, or a little bit less, I'm going to do a quick recap, and then we're just going to jump right into it, and we're going to look at the new leaker. And actually, before we even jump into that, thank you very much, Filter Dog, for that can. I appreciate that. And also, there's another new leaker as well. There's another new leaker. Apparently, there's like 2 leaks today, or one of these is from a week ago. One of them's from today or something like that. So there's a new one. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Why don't I see it? Here it is. Okay, I'm just going to read. Yeah, I'll pull it up and read it. Okay, here we go. And you'll know I'm reading this one with like no review right away because this is one where you read this and, from our past history, we don't care if it's real or not because we already know the content is legit. So they say, I was a private contractor for various DoD agencies. I'm speaking now because this shit has gone off the deep end. I will provide some evidence. Whistleblower. I really did not want to write this. However, after careful discussion with colleagues, I'm going to do what my gut tells me. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Says, I will be providing evidence, even give my perspective on anti-gravity and the overall landscape of the UAP field. Says they have a degree in electrical engineering from a college somewhere in the South of the United States. Recruited out of college to work in black operations, specifically on the electrical engineering, microelectronics, and pulsed power side. Okay, sounds right. These black programs do not necessarily care about your academic credentials as much as they care about two things. Can you think outside the box? And can you shut the F up about it? So that's also very accurate. That's how they operate. They really don't care about your credentials. I do not know everything, but the things I'm sure of, I will write about here. I'm doing this because I have 8 months to live, blah, blah, blah. We've heard it before. Okay. Jay Stratton and Lou Elizondo are one of the reasons various inventors, ZPE, 0-point energy devices, have never seen the light of day. Well, chat. We just went from me being slightly intrigued to now being you have my full-on undivided attention now. Let me just reread that. Jay Stratton and Lou Elizondo are one of the reasons that various inventors of 0-point energy devices have never seen the light of day. Okay, well, if this is a hoax, you knew exactly what to say to trigger Ashton Forbes. Congratulations, you're successful in your hoax. You've hooked me in. You've hooked me in. Yeah, what a start, right? This actually is maybe this is only part of it, I don't know, but it's not actually that long. They have been personally responsible for destroying careers, families, and the mental well-being of various physicists and engineers over many decades. Lou used to be a counter-intel agent for more than one WUSOP, waived unacknowledged special program, and did not get involved in the subject by chance. He and Stratton were involved long before the ATIP and ASOP saga. See, chat, like, why am I reviewing this even though it's just a random post? Because this is what I'm afraid of. This right here is exactly what I'm afraid of. That Lou Elizondo was involved in this way before any of this bullshit, and he's always been a counter-intel guy, and the whole point of him is to make sure that nobody focuses on the engineering and on the free energy aspect of it. This is my worst fear right here. I don't know if this is true, but if it is true, it's literally my worst fear about the situation. And this is what have I been saying, is that these guys they're hiding free energy. That's what they're gatekeeping. That's what they're hiding. And this part too, the next part is actually what really, and by the way, I just read this about an hour before we went live here tonight. This next part's what really bugs me because it really rings true. Lou is not a bad person at heart, but it makes you wonder why he has done what he's done in order to destroy others. I know many of you may judge this statement and think that I'm defending him, but there are many good things that he's done in this field, as well as many people will likely never know about. With that said, he's definitely compromised in terms of putting U.S. national security above all else. And that is a concern at this point. Wow. Wow. Shots fired. And chat, I mean, you already know what I'm going to say, right? Wait for it.
Me to choose between national security and disclosure, like real national security, I will always choose national security.
One more time, just in case somebody didn't hear it.
If you ask me to choose between national security and disclosure, like real national security, I will always choose national security.
So what do you think, chat? Is it accurate? So far, a letter's pretty accurate here. With that said, he's definitely compromised in terms of putting U.S. national security above all else. I'd say that's true. It is a concern because the DoD has long been infiltrated with warmongers and profiteering cranks who want to keep all this tech and knowledge silent for the sake of their own self-preservation. Wow. Sounds right to me. Right? This is what it all comes down to, isn't it? That the government's infiltrated with a bunch of cranks and grifters who are trying to keep all the technology for themselves and keep all the power for themselves. And they're terrified of it getting made public because it's not even their careers that are over. Their whole bloodlines are over. Some of these people are only billionaires because they've been exploiting normal people for their entire lives, and their entire bloodlines have been doing that. Now, I'm going to use Chris Mellon as an analogy here. I'm not saying he's directly like this, so I can't be sued, but You can imagine billionaire families like the Mellon families who have been rich for super long. Imagine they've known about technology like this. Like their whole family line will be done if it were to come out that they knew about this technology and they've been gatekeeping it. Just the public backlash alone would put a black mark on their entire family for the rest of their generations. Can you imagine being one of the families that just like literally profited off the expense of everyone, all of humanity? Yuck, man. Yuck. I really hope I'm wrong about you, Chris Mellon. I really hope you're not hiding free energy technology, brother. If I find out that you knew about this shit, you will never, ever, ever live it down. I don't care how many billions of dollars you're worth. So he says, I give him the benefit of the doubt at first, but this is getting to the point of blatant stupidity. To a very small extent, I don't blame them. However, to hide this from humanity is becoming more of a curse than anything else. People have the right to know. Do you know what this reads like to me? This reads like somebody who is just had enough. They don't care about the consequences. And you know what I love about this right here? What I love about this letter is that this is what I want to have happen. I want people on the inside to just lose their shit. I want them to hear someone like me just talking boldly and freely about how all this technology works and how we have it. And for them to just be like, you know what? I just can't keep it inside anymore. I can't keep it inside anymore. I'm just going to blow the lid off of everything. That's what we're trying to do here. And when I see this, I just go, ooh, chat. Ooh, the strategy's working, chat. We got them shook. We got them fucking shook, chat. Sorry, I had to drop the F-bomb. Okay. And I think Salvatore, this also, when I was thinking about this, I kept thinking about what Salvatore Pais told us. Sal told us that he basically got roadblocked. He got railroaded. Why did they railroad Sal when he was trying to produce his high energy electromagnetic field generator? They railroaded him because he was figuring out free energy. He was figuring out all the plasma orbs and the negative energy. He'd figured all that stuff out and figured out a way to produce it. So they had to say, nope, you ain't doing this. So this explains what they're doing. They're literally gatekeeping these technologies from being rediscovered because they already know it's been discovered. Keep everybody away from it except for the people they already know. Small niche group of people they already know who have it. Actually wild. I don't know. I just read this. I just can't believe it, man. Jay Stratton, however, and by the way, I don't even really know Jay Stratton. He's like the guy I've researched the least about all this. So I don't care about what he thinks about these people. Jay Stratton, however, is a real scummy person. Don't get me started on the shit the guy has done with some of my colleagues. I have zero sympathy for the man. I do want to point out what I've heard about Lou Elizondo is also consistent with what I read there as well. And that's also my opinion. I don't judge Lou Elizondo to be a bad guy. I just think he's put national security above all else and it's compromised him. It's compromised him to the point where it's like, we got to have some counterbalance to the argument of national security. National security leads to holocausts, right? Like when we justify everything for national security, that's how we end up doing genocides on other races, on other countries. We have to have at some point say like, hey, we figured out the teleportation technology. The people have a right to know, right? Like once you've developed teleportation technology, you have like an inherent obligation to let humanity know that we've achieved like another echelon. To hide that just seems sick. And I want to cover one of the bases right now. Some people may say that, well, what if we don't have the teleportation technology? Even if we just know teleportation technology exists, like we saw the aliens teleporting in their spaceships, that also needs to be public available. You can't watch an alien flying saucer teleport in like a thermal video or an IR video, like there it is and there it's not, and then just be like, well, we're just going to hide that from the world. We're not going to let the world know teleportation technology exists. No. If you are on a classified system, I don't really care. And I don't want to hear any arguments about how you can't release it. No bullshit about, oh, we can't release it because methods and sensor and whatever capabilities. No, just remove all the other stuff and just show us the thing being teleported. Or heck, just say that we saw something get teleported. That'll be enough, right? People will figure it out after that. So enough of the obfuscation over all the bullshit. And here's the other part I want to point out is that I wish the MH370 videos. Why does it keep doing that? I wish this video showed aliens. Truthfully, guys, I do wish that it did. I wish that the MH370 videos were aliens zapping the plane away. I'd be much less afraid and worried for everything, for my own well-being, much less worried for humanity if this was just aliens zapping the plane. Because then I'd just say, I don't know, they were just like stemping on an anthill by mistake. The problem is, this is like a glamour shot. We're watching like a glamour shot here. You're like, this isn't an accident that they're recording this like this. It'd be like, this isn't just some shaky camera of us catching this go down. Like, this is a plane on fire. We've got a drone chasing the plane, and we're catching it in the perfect thermal footage while we're like zoomed in and framing it perfectly. Like, you're watching the model like pose. Like, yeah, of course we know this shit's about to go down. So the only way that can be aliens, in my mind, is we either have some secret pact with the aliens, I guess, and nobody's ever seen them, or the other one is what we're going to talk about tonight, which is this idea that there might be some, I don't really even know what to call it, AI superintelligence, non-human intelligence that just has crazy technology that maybe something triggers it and it deploys its teleportation technology. Is that what I think is going on in the videos? No, not at all. But that's what we're going to take a look at here in a second. So let's finish this up real quick. There's only a little bit more to go. Basically says Sean Kirkpatrick, AARO, is a pawn. There's thousands of legacy programs, not just more than 10, like Hal Puthoff said. Says that Jeremy Corbell is a useful idiot. Well, we already knew. Oh, I'm not even sharing it. Says that Jeremy Corbell here is a useful idiot, which, well, we already knew all that, basically. And then the funny part is, like, I think his takes, or he or she's takes, are all perfectly accurate. Like, says here that his take on us not being able to reproduce or understand the propulsion systems is complete nonsense. And he says, I actually doubt he knows the truth. So he's probably not actually lying, which is hilarious. That's just another way of saying, like, Jeremy Corbell is basically just an idiot. He's just an idiot. And that's actually my take on him as well. I think he's a guy that's obsessed with aliens and he doesn't really get what's really going on here. And then he says these other guys, these guys are the real deal, respects them. They've had real stories. And maybe. I mean, some of these guys' stories, like Mike Herrera's story, is pretty far out there, pretty hard to believe, but it's possible. Certainly possible. And then he's saying we have figured it out to a certain degree. And he says crafts that can leave our solar system. He says that sounds nuts, but it's the truth. Some have succeeded by pure means of pure human ingenuity, while others have accessed to reversed UFO materials. This level of mastery exceeds anything that even our most traditionally secret military programs have. Booz Allen Hamilton, Honeywell, Lockheed Martin, MITRE Corporation, Raytheon, Boeing, all have their own versions of various anti-gravity technologies. There's a difference between gravitational shielding and repulsion and actually generating high-frequency gravitational waves. I got to say, that part right there sounds really insider-y to me, because all of that I think is accurate, and it's kind of stuff you only put in there if, like, you are an insider. You don't even need to add all this stuff about the difference between gravitational shielding and gravitational waves. And I've heard this from my sources as well, that when I was trying to understand the nuance of this UFO stuff, one of the first things I was told is you have to realize that the companies aren't sharing information with each other. So they're all building their own free energy stuff, 0 point energy stuff, plasma stuff, anti-gravity stuff. They've all got their own stuff. So then it really becomes like a sick post-apocalyptic kind of dystopian world where the companies are like fighting for which engineers, which Black Project engineers are the best that can make the best free energy devices or, anti-gravity devices, which is actually insane. And the more I think about it, I'm like, damn, those APEC conferences, I keep thinking back to those engineers, like the coherent matter wave beam guy. And I'm just sitting there going, like, there's no way this guy's not being scooped up by one of these defense contractors to build anti-gravity stuff. Like, no doubt he is. With the credentials he has, where he's just flouting a patent that can do coherent matter wave beams that's 1,000,000 times more powerful than a laser. Yeah. We're getting a really good insight. The reason why I think streams like this are important is that we get an insight to what the people on the inside are thinking. It helps us understand, how does the organizational structure work on the inside? What are the people on the inside thinking? What are the grassroots employees on the ground level thinking? And then here we go, the money. The pursuit of Thomas Townsend Brown is exactly where people should be looking. 0-point energy manipulation has to do with the EM vector potential, the electromagnetic vector potential. That is as far as I will go on that. Well, we've gone way further on that. So what they're referring to there is basically on the last stream. If you didn't watch it, you probably should go back and watch it, especially the quantum communication portion of it. We're talking about creating a perturbation in the ether, in the 0-point energy, that's not electromagnetically detectable. We're talking about doing things like that. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about like magnetic vector potential, like electric vector potentials. So when we're talking about that, when we're talking about perturbation in the ether, I think the answer is that is what gravity is. You're changing gravity. It's gravity wave, right? I was involved in a project that utilized Tesla turbines, plasma toroid chambers, microwaves, crystals, extremely strong rotating magnets, and other various obtainable components that generated many kilowatt gravitational waves, or gravitons as some call it, in a private BAE lab. What's BAE lab? The total cost of the project was just under $3 million to produce the gravity generator. It has been done time and time again successfully. Gravitational waves are measured electromagnetically due to being a consequence of the curvature of space-time itself. Oh, that's BAE Systems? That's the same one that did the Argus system, Argus IR. Wow. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Chat, I mean, I don't know about you, but this sounds pretty credible to me. I mean, everything they're saying here is accurate, right? Extremely strong rotating magnets. What does that sound like to you? Plasma toroid chambers. I mean, that's a plasmoid right there. So I don't know if someone's trying to troll us here, but they're hitting all the right buttons. Plus, here's the other big thing. The controversy over gravitational waves. If you ask somebody like Sabine Hassenfelder or Avi Loeb, they're going to have no idea about producing gravitational waves. But Robert M.L. Baker won a Lifetime Achievement Award for high-frequency gravitational waves in 2011. 2011. He worked for Lockheed Martin. So there's a huge disconnect between what the public academics understand and what the defense contractors are doing. And they're like, oh, why don't they publicly show it? Because they don't care about you. The defense contractors don't care what academia thinks. In fact, they're trying for you to not figure it out. So if they don't want you to figure it out, they're definitely not going to show it to you. Wait, where's the Chick-fil-A girl? Hold on. I need you, Chick-fil-A girl. Oh, I don't have her on the hot bar. Sniffles. Okay. There we go. We did it. Okay. And also, I can't be canceled for that. That was not me doing a Down syndrome impression. That was technically just me doing a what are you thinking impression. But just, yeah, there you go. Okay. Metamaterials are not needed to generate macroscopic proof of conceptual gravitational phenomenon. Plain and simple. That was my. If you guys don't know my Chick-fil-A girl, I'll get it out later for you guys. Okay, metamaterials are not required. This is the biggest psyop out there right now, next to aliens. Number one psyop is focus on aliens. It's alien science, alien physics, alien technology. The second one is we do not need metamaterials to teleport something. We don't need metamaterials for anti-gravity either. But yes, it is helpful. It is helpful. In fact, the aliens are probably using metamaterials because the aliens have access to production methods that are far beyond where we're at currently. But we'll get there. Okay, and then it says, you'll notice in some of the files I'm showing that the Soviets coined a term gravitational rotation or rotational gravitation and believe that rotating masses acted as emitters and receivers of gravitational waves. Basically not going to argue and just says, if the Soviets thought it would be worthy of experimental investigation, then why is it not being done here? Oh, wait, it is. It's just going to stay forever classified. Forever. And absolutely this is true. Absolutely this is true. How do we know this is true? Absolutely. Because this is what Salvatore Pais's patents are doing as well. Salvatore Pais's patents, accelerated rotation or vibration. Accelerated spin or accelerated vibration can produce gravitational effects. Boom. There it is. And it came from the Soviets. All this scalar stuff came from the Soviets. Okay, so Jay Stratton, ask Jay Stratton why he prevented multiple inventors from getting their own laboratory. Because many of the inventors he suppressed focused on rotating capacitors, something the Soviets pursued very quickly. I'm sure his $1 million book deal helped smooth over all the people he royally effed. God damn! Do I not have the goddamn one? God damn! Man, that guy is popping off. Yeah, can somebody let's get Jay Stratton on an interview here. I feel like he's got some questions. My man needs to answer some questions here because some anonymous person is calling him out pretty hard here. My beef is that we are classifying basic science that our adversaries are now discussing in more open forums and in peer-reviewed literature. It's BS. All for what? So that Lockheed can make science breakthroughs proprietary and own it? King, if I could crown you right now, I would, sir. Whoever you are out there, just LFG, sir. LFG. That's all I have to say. Exactly. The closest I have seen anyone in the public domain get to describing how the technology works is Lieutenant Colonel Tom Bearden and a few others. Let's go. Let's go. The tough part of all of this is talking the theory and applying it to a practical experiment. Not many can bridge that divide, but a small genius chunk of engineers and some theoretical physicists have. So AI didn't write this. But this is great. If try to get AI to write this, you'll never will. Never will, guys. If you guys have not realized, AI is basically Reddit. If your response doesn't look like Reddit, then it probably doesn't come from an AI. Like AI is basically indistinguishable from Reddit. And so are AI responses at this point. AI response is never going to tell you something about you got to go look at Tom Bearden to figure all this out. Guarantee he's never going to tell you that. But honestly, bless your heart if you think that. Bless your heart. So do you want to know who the real high-level gatekeeper of all this stuff is? Admiral John Michael Mike McConnell. Well, looks like we're going to go ahead and write down that name I've never heard before. You know what I like about being totally new to all this stuff and having no idea who any of these people are? Every time I get a new name like this, I get to go, oh, well, I guess I get to go figure out who this sketchy MFer is, this new sketchy character we're involved into this whole, hiding Tesla technology and free energy technology from the world. And also, when I find somebody who I really like, who I'm like, oh, okay, this is definitely a gatekeeper, then we get to basically pull them into the limelight. Be like, oh, let's look here, Mr. Admiral John Michael Mike McConnell. It looks like you have access to, on the bigot list, to special access programs, unacknowledged ones. Let's pull you out into the limelight. There you go. It's fun. Okay. So anyway, then it says, I realize now being given a limited time on this planet, you have to think about what really should matter. I want the next generation to have a chance. P.S. The Tic Tac is ours. I worked on certain aspects of it personally. Okay. Well, I don't know if this person's trolling or what, but if it's a troll, it's a pretty compelling troll to me. And then here you go, Tic Tac leak. Now, do you want to know something fun, chat? I've seen these images before this. I'm pretty sure these images float around behind the scenes. I don't really know the full context, but I'm pretty sure they float around behind the scenes, and that's how I've seen them. And I remember when I saw them the first time too, I didn't just think I was looking at something that was super special. I kind of thought probably a lot of people have seen this. It's the Bigelow Aerospace project management plan. It reads like I don't even know, like an introduction guide onto how to identify UFOs and stuff like that and the history of them. Pretty elaborate. Here you go, rotational gravitation, but here's some of the references that are mentioned in here. But the thing about it is that these screenshots here, it almost reads like it's like a guide to get you up to speed on here's how anti-gravity works. It's almost like a guide we would give Star Trek cadets. Here you go. Here's your guide on gravity research. Okay. Which I could see a weird eccentric billionaire like Bigelow doing something like that. I just think it's fun. Ohio Kimmy, thank you very much for that cookie. Appreciate you. And let me hit a couple donos. Too close. Thank you very much. Aliens, 4chan leaker. Sounds real to me. Yeah, there you go. GTE. Hey, Ashton, hope you're doing well. Have you seen Dan Jones' video where the guy claims Greer's linked to Mossad? Yeah, it's all just some bullshit. So I think that guy's just full of crap. That guy, Danny just had some random guy from the internet come on that's super jaded and just make up a bunch of BS about a bunch of people. It's I don't know. But who knows? Maybe Greer is linked to Mossad. I'm not saying he's not. I don't know. So thank you for that donation. Appreciate it. But that whatever that guy was making up was nonsense. Okay, guys. So it's after all that, what can you believe that's not even the main leak we're going to talk about here tonight? So to get you up to speed on the main leak, I went and pulled the PDF here from the original 4chan leak. So this is the original 4chan leak from, it looks like April of 2023. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't even the main leak for tonight. This is the one. Now, this is the first 4chan leak. This is not the one we were here to talk about, but I need to give you guys the context. So here's the main thing this person said. This thing is super long. We're not going to go through it all. I'm just going to give you the high level, okay? UFOs are primarily unmanned drones. Now, that I agree with. Because where are the aliens? We're not seeing the aliens. to me, the UFO thing, we should be looking for something that's drone based. We're not, why I don't see insectoids or reptilians or anything. And there's no videos of them either. So drones make way more sense. Plus, just drones makes more sense in general. Why would an advanced species come here personally? UFOs are built to spec each time. UFOs are created by a mobile construction facility that hides in the ocean. Now, chat, I'm going to be real with you. That was the craziest shit I had ever heard when I first read that in 2023. And that was before the MH370 stuff. That was the craziest shit I had ever read. And it was completely original. I had never heard of the idea that there's an underwater UFO mobile base building UFOs to spec that are unmanned drones. That's a wild, wild claim. And said the U.S. believes the facility has been active on Earth for at least 100 years or maybe way longer, like thousands and tens of thousands of years. And I'm not going to go through there, but later on it says that if anything gets near this thing, that it just gone, annihilates them. And so, of course, when MH370 happened and I was looking at the videos, one of my first thoughts was the 4chan leaker. In fact, a lot of the early interviews, the very first interviews I did, I used to bring up the 4chan leaker and how the 4chan leaker talked about anything that gets near this underwater base, some kind of automatic deployment system goes out and it's just, boom, gone, annihilated, doesn't exist anymore. Now, the reason why I showed earlier was that no matter how I squared it, the videos never made any sense as aliens, and they still don't make any sense as aliens. But that doesn't mean that there's not a relevant connection here to all of this. And it certainly doesn't mean there's not an underwater UFO base. The MH370 videos can be United States technology, and there can be an underwater UFO base that's zapping things out of the water. One thing I'm very confident of now is that the answer to the non-human intelligence question is multi-pronged. It's not just little green men or reptilians or AI. It's probably a combination of multiple things. So we reviewed that, all of the 4chan posts and comments last year. And you can check it out. You can check out that review, that live stream. That should still be up. Now, about a week ago, there's a new 4chan leak. And I didn't even actually know about it. I haven't really been following. But I watched Josh Polarity, who was on the show. Check out the interview with him. And he did a breakdown of it. And so I watched the breakdown, and I've got to say, it's pretty compelling. It's presenting information that could, in theory, be verified if we had access to everything. I don't think we will. But it has a lot of parallels to that leak. And it also says that leak, that person was right. That there really is an underwater base. And that person was on the crash retrieval program. And that's how they knew about it. And this person was on a submarine. They were some kind of naval or aquatic, type of thing. So I'm going to pull up this post that does the summary. And then I'm going to show the part of the Josh video, but I think I'm just going to read off of it because I'm now terrified of being copyright striked. Let's try this here. So they have a link to this post here. It says, this 4chan OP claims 3 submarines were out on a mission and one vanished without a trace. One of the vessels the OP confirms is the USS Hampton. They claim the second can be found if you dig a bit. However, they claim the third would have no records. A hint was that their third vessel was customized by Lockheed Martin, not built by Lockheed Martin, and stress the distinction. I'm personally seeing multiple other potentials since there's a wide date range. So people were looking for it. But one thing that people found, which was interesting, is they found a guy, Bob McGuire. Bob McGuire here. We know Bob McGuire. He was one of our haters. He went on Jesse Michaels and he kind of peeled back his haterade a little bit and said that he thought Salvatore Pais's patents might now actually be legit. So Bob McGuire might actually be able to confirm this event happened, I guess, which I think is kind of interesting. Because if this did really happen, this is pretty big evidence that there is something in the oceans at a bare minimum. Maybe not a huge base, but maybe there is one. And before you say, oh, well, that seems crazy, well, let's keep reading and let's see. I mean, yes, it is going to sound crazy. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look. Actually, I want to see, was there anything else we need to talk about here? Oh, okay, yeah. This last post I want to read here too before we take a look at it. It says, an interesting last part from the OP. So I want to start with this. It says, the theory is not that it saw the sub as a threat. The theory is that the object or whatever is recognized as part of the materials on board as familiar, possibly even native to itself, and pulled them back in as an attack, just as a function. The people on board were just in the way. Wrong place, wrong time. You are applying intent where there may have only been process. So this is the part that really started to get me. I'm going to read the next part without showing it here, just to give it more pizzazz. So the USO base, the underwater base, might be an automated AI intelligence, but also works on reflexes. There might not be anyone in there to talk to. I mean, why would there be? Would you personally want to be stuck in an underwater base for centuries? That would be boring. Better for a machine. It's like us trying to talk to an alien toaster. So the AI system detected this experimental human platform and decided this is one of our drones. Beamed it back in for materials recycling. Oops, it wasn't. It had people. Wasn't programmed for this scenario. Oh well, all the atoms get recycled and there's a cleanup phase. Maybe I do want to get orbed by the United States government. At least then I have a better chance of ending up at Diego Garcia rather than in an alien recycler. I'm just not going to fly anymore, chat. I'm not going to fly anymore, and then I won't have to deal with that. And I'm certainly not flying over the Atlantic Ocean. Apparently, this thing's in the Atlantic Ocean. Spoiler alert. Okay. Suppose that it was programmed 1,000 years ago, and the detection criteria then was pretty clear what human technology was and what ET technology was, exotic physics. Now, this is another interesting theory on the cover-up. This is where it's going to get really dark, guys. This is where it's going to get really dark. Suppose there's an automated system which can distinguish higher ET type technology, say gravitational propulsion. And then some humans make some gravity propulsion. But then these systems are detected by the underwater or in space ET systems. And they consider them something of ours which was manufactured and needs to be recycled. Something made by our enemy which needs destruction. So it isn't the anti-gravity technology, which is the cover-up itself, but the response to it. We have no anti-gravity airliners because they might be vaporized randomly if they flew by something which we can't track. And telling human society that there are vastly powerful ET things hanging around and we can't talk to them or deal with them, that's the problem. Woo. So that's pretty dark. So that's the reason why I wanted to review this. Now let's take a look at some of the direct comments and get a feel for if this person is legit or not. Okay. And then after we review some of these comments, I want to give my impression of this story that's being told here. But needless to say, I think it's interesting because it does align with the prison planet hypothesis and scenario that you are saying right here in the chat. So, and here you can see Josh also was reviewing the previous leak. Here we go.
I'm only responding to replies that start with the boat's initials. If you can't connect the dots, you're not ready to hear the rest anyway. So this guy's basically saying you need to do a bit of digging before I'm going to answer your questions. So this is an anonymous user. So basically on 4chan, when you post, you're anonymous. So this is not the original poster. This is someone else sending him a message. So the messages with arrows in front of them are based lost that year. I think 4chan replying unless someone showed me that they were close. You're at least asking the right types of questions, so I'll make an exception. First off, no, this isn't the USO Tom DeLonge talks about. He's been fed watered down, pre-approved scraps, even enough to keep him chasing without ever getting close. The Abyss is loosely inspired by real rumors, but what we dealt with was nothing like Cameron's glowing deep-sea aliens. It was cold, mechanical, and purposeful. The USS Scorpion incident you're referencing, different situation entirely. It had to...
Sorry, I messed up. I want to go back to this. Where I think I missed the first post. Hold on. This is the one. Okay, never mind. Let's just play this here.
Reasoning is in the post. I'm not here to waste time with anyone who cannot discern real from fake. That being said, I do recognize effort when I see it. If you are using AI to dig, I recommend simplifying your queries. Anything involving MH370 is laughable. That was an aircraft. I stated clearly I worked on a sub. If you are bringing up aircraft when the context is sonar and submerged contact, you are already disqualifying yourself. It is these types of engagements that gave me the idea of how to filter out the noise. Who is guessing for attention and who is actually paying attention? And yes, I'm well aware that once one person figures it out, everyone else will repeat it. I'm counting on that. Because if enough people are saying the same name on the same sub, the right people might start paying attention. Call it raising awareness in the only way I still can. Just knowing I'm paying attention to this thread. And yes, I'm very aware that once one person finds it, everyone will copy it. But if everyone is saying the same name of the sub, I'd tend to think the right people may get their eyes on the situation. Call it raising awareness.
So here's the story. The story is that this submarine, this guy was on a submarine, and all of a sudden they watch like a mountain move. They see, like, they're looking at their sensors. They're telling them what's around them, and they're seeing huge stuff moving. And they're down there with these other submarines, and all of a sudden, one of the submarines is just gone. Straight up gone. So they are basically freak out. What happened to this thing? And now what he's doing is the guy is on the he's on 4chan leaking this information out. He's leaking this information out, and he's saying that, here's a scavenger hunt. One of the ships was the USS Hampton. And you guys can go try to figure out the other ship. You should be able to find it if you dig enough. But the third ship, the one that disappeared, was never publicly known. Never publicly known. If you're having audio issues, please just refresh the stream. I don't have control over YouTube's audio issues, but thank you. So that part, I don't know. The way he tells people, I'm not here to entertain you, that's how I would imagine somebody who knows the truth is going to act. People wonder, why do you act abrasive when you know the truth? Because when you know the truth, you don't have any time for idiots. You don't have any time for nonsense. So that's the reason why somebody acts like a dickhead when they know the truth. It's not an indicator they're making something up. In fact, it's usually the opposite. And it's certainly not an indicator that you're reading AI. If you were reading AI, AI is usually super nice to you. Just a heads up.
That's interesting. It's almost like he wrote out the first part and then rewrote it again and forgot to delete it from before.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
Interesting.
Okay. Oh, and the other thing that he mentioned there is MH370. So how crazy is it that when this happens, immediately a bunch of people are mentioning MH370? And it makes sense because I'm thinking the same thing as well. I'm wondering if this submarine, if this event actually happened, if this submarine literally disappeared like that, is it the same technology that we're watching MH370 get zapped out of the sky? Or is it the same basis? Like, what I'm thinking in my head is, did we see that happen and then we reverse engineered it to figure out how to do it ourselves? Like, did we learn how to teleport stuff because we watched them do it? Because what he's describing there is not actually annihilation. What's being described there is actually the teleporting the object into the base and dematerializing it. That's what it sounds like. And if that's the case, then what if we figured that out? And if we figure that, are we using that on MH370? Now, here's the real kicker that just the reason why I can't dismiss this connection as much as I want to is that would be a form of short-range teleportation. There's a giant base. This thing gets near it. Assume this is a submarine, and it teleports it inside of it and just basically eats it. That's like what we're seeing happen to the plane in MH370. One of the things about MH370 that's so weird, why are they only teleporting it 1,000 miles or whatever? Why are they only teleporting 1,000 miles? Why is it not teleporting to Andromeda Galaxy? You know, why is there a limitation? Maybe that's because that's what the limitation, maybe there is a limitation to the technology. Maybe it's not unlimited power. Maybe it doesn't let you teleport to Andromeda Galaxy. Maybe you need something more for that. And the White House guys, people are bringing up, we probably should mention that again. Kratsios, nobody asked him. He said that we have the ability to manipulate time and space. And now we're seeing people come out and another whistleblower. We just read one whistleblower, and now we're listening to another one. And notice something similar. These whistleblowers, they're not going out to CNN. Why are they not on CNN? It's not because they don't want to be. It's because CNN would never let them be on TV. The only people CNN lets be on TV are the Lou Elizondos of the world, the people that are already bought and paid for national security. The real whistleblowers are never allowed in the public view. The Edward Lins, he would never have been allowed to be on CNN.
Again, this person.
Okay. So I'm going to skip ahead to some of the better parts here. I think this one's good. God, this is hard for me to read. I wonder if there's a spot I can see the list of them. Okay. I'm just going to let him read it.
Gone in the blink of an eye. Like, not even enough time to radio, and you will not to actually find it. Congratulations. I will answer within limits. Was USS Hampton the only sub out there that day? No. There were 3 platforms initially tasked. 2 are on the public record if you dig hard enough. The 3rd is not, and you will not find it listed anywhere official. That 3rd vessel disappeared without warning. No emergency signals, no acoustic collapse signature. It was simply gone. Now, in the original 4chan whistleblower thread, he talks about that. He doesn't name vessels. There's nothing to confirm that this is the same incident, but in the original thread, that person talked about how a vessel was just gone in the blink of an eye. Like, not even enough time to radio in that they were.
And chat, what was the other thing that it says right there? Sorry, I'm like trying to read it. No acoustic collapse signature. No acoustic collapse signature. Can you imagine being on a submarine and you basically use acoustic detection for everything, like echolocation, and now something that was there, it's just not there anymore. It's just not there. There's not even a signal of it imploding. It just isn't there. That's how someone is going to lose their, like, you see that happen on your thing. You go, what just happened? Do you know why that's so huge? What can even cause that? Nothing can cause that. That's not an explosion and that's not an implosion. Chat, what is it? You know what it is. That is an endothermic event. That is a space-time disruption. Why? Because when you're disrupting space-time, it's like a mirror. It's like a mirror when you disrupt space-time. You go through it and you don't disrupt any of this. There is no shockwave. We know there's no shockwave because we've seen it on the MH370 videos. And we would never have known this without these videos. Without these videos, we would have never have known that there's not going to be a shockwave. Here we go. Because look at this. The thing that's crazy about this, the clouds barely move. It's like the plane just goes right through a mirror. It's literally just zapping through an extra dimension. And that's what would have happened to the submarine. If this story is true, that can explain why there's no acoustic signature, no acoustic collapse. It's just there 1 second and it's not there the next second. And this is the part I can't get my head around. For Chupa actually nailed it here, right? This is the thing that I can't wrap my head around. How is that possible? How is it actually possible, though? Because if you're teleporting something, shouldn't the displaced area, even in the air, shouldn't the displaced air collapse on the area that didn't have air in it before? I agree. It seems like it should work that way. Somehow it doesn't. Somehow it doesn't work that way. Somehow it can just phase out just the solid object. And that's something I haven't quite figured out at all, to be honest with you. Maybe people in the chat know. I'm sure, I'm not saying that there's no detection. If you have a gravitational wave detector, you're going to detect that zap. I'm just saying there's no acoustic detection. There's no shock wave. There's no shock wave, no blast wave at all. It fills its own void. Yeah, that could be the answer. It could just be a matter of it's filling its own void because it's an extra dimensional interaction. But that's the thing that's mind-bending about it, frankly, is that there's no sound. There's not even light being emitted. It's a ultraviolet emission of light. So it truly looks magical. And that's why we potentially can only even really see it in the thermal. I don't even know what it would look like in optical. So I thought that's really interesting, that the explanation for how there's no acoustic collapse sounds exactly like what you would expect if you're hearing an explanation for a space-time disruption.
We're in trouble. It's like they were just gone. What made the situation even worse was that the instrument showed immediately afterwards. The sonar returns were so extreme that most of the crew believed at first that the systems were malfunctioning. The mass detected was beyond anything expected. The disappearance of the third vessel combined with the sheer size of what was showing on sonar created total confusion for a brief window. That confusion is why the reports conflict and why the operation went silent so quickly. Was there clear footage grabbed? Yes. Multiple internal angles, passive acoustic recordings, kinematic patterns impossible to match with any known propulsion technology. No friendly identification codes, no logical explanations. The material is clear enough that anyone familiar with undersea tracking would know immediately that they were witnessing something outside human capability.
Wow. I'm just saying, guys, if that's me, first of all, I'm never going in a submarine, not ever in my life. Am I ever going to be in a submarine? No chance whatsoever. But I can you imagine how terrified you would be in a situation where you're seeing something on your sensors that you've worked on these sensors for 5-10 years, and now you see something anomalous that can't be explained, that you know is not a malfunction, some either giant thing underwater, or just watching another submarine disappear that you know was there a second ago, and now it's just not. Horrifying. This is like my worst nightmare. Maybe that's why I'm weirdly obsessed with this.
How did it start? It started the moment Command realized the third vessel was no longer present on instruments or communications. Passive sonar then picked up a massive disturbance. Something was moving deep and moving intelligently. We adjusted our tracking and the object reacted immediately. It knew we were there. It shifted speed and depth faster than anything we have ever classified. It never broke aggressive, but it made it very clear that it was aware of our attempts to follow. After that moment, everything went up the chain and out of our hands. Thank you for being fact-oriented and not a moron. So much unnecessary shade being thrown. Anonymous user, are you claiming to know more than the original 4chan whistleblower? No, that was a one-off that will never happen again. He was on retrieval, I was on a boat. Context matters.
So it sounds like the way this played out was that they had to coax this information out of this guy. Like, he didn't just come out right away with all of it. And then people started asking smart questions, and then he started giving some of the information out. Which, I mean, you know, that's, if you were doing a prank, that's a pretty weird way to go about it. But up to you. I think there's a lot of people out there that, man, some of you should be a little more open-minded about it, because to be honest with you, some of y'all's distinction between reality and fiction is not that great. But who knows? Maybe it is fake.
Interesting, right?
Okay.
We're not getting an image, but sonar. Maybe if you ask the right way. Try requesting radar or sonar malfunctions from Atlantic fast attack platforms between 2001 and 2005. Frame it as equipment behavior. The data was recorded, every ping. Everyone who was there saw it, but it's the third
So I think he just gave us verifiable information here. So right here, he's saying, and I mean, I don't know how you would make this up, but try requesting radar or sonar malfunctions from Atlantic fast attack platforms between 2001 and 2005. Frame it as equipment behavior. So what they're saying there is that this happened between 2001 and 2005, and that the data was recorded and theoretically could be FOIA'd. I personally am not going to FOIA it, but if somebody wants to FOIA it, I think it's interesting to find. Because if there is that data out there and a sub disappeared, then, I mean, that's really strong evidence there's something in the water. And I'm already scared enough of Jaws, guys. And I'm scared of flying. I don't need to be terrified of the oceans, too. I mean, Earth is a scary place. Okay.
These people quiet. It was in position when the object moved, almost like it got too close. Air anomalies are not my area. I stay in my lane. The task force, a PR front. They talk around the real event, the most documented underwater contact on record, and they ignore it. Bob McGuire has spoken on it, yes, but his lab was isolated. He was not at the station when it happened. He got what they gave him, not the raw feed. As for what we see, imagine sitting beside a mountain. Then the mountain moves, not slowly, with intent. Just before that, the ocean went silent. No current, no displacement, no hum, just pressure and stillness. The kind of silence that warns you. When it appeared, sonar picked it up. Solid mass, structured return, but wrong. No propulsion, no wake, just movement. And the way it moved, not like it was trying to get away, like it was aware we were watching. We did not detect it. It let us see it.
Bro. That look right there says it all. Look at that look right there. Are you trying to make it so I can never sleep again? That would be the most terrifying thing ever. Just the sonar just shows a mountain and the mountain starts moving. No propulsion mechanisms visible whatsoever. Just sitting there. Not even attacking, just aware of your presence, towering over you, underwater in a submarine. You're just helpless. Bro. That was the exact moment I said we're going to do a live stream on this tonight. Like, actually, this is terrifying enough that I can believe it could be the answer to the non-human intelligence thing. My opinion, the non-human intelligence thing has got to be some really dark answer. It can't be just, oh, yeah, the gray aliens are really evil. No, come on, man. Let's get real. Let's get real. We need to have some giant megalithic structure that can float around and zap things out of the sky or underneath the water at will. That's what I'm looking for. That's chef's kiss on the UFO disclosure alien phenomenon. At least in my book. That, you know, but I'm an old school horror movie fan guy that likes, you know, the ones that are like hard to stomach horror movies.
Extremely ominous.
Extremely ominous. I don't know how I didn't know about Josh before, guys. I love Josh. Okay, here we go.
Thing wouldn't destroy us. These are the thoughts of the people I'm trying to ignore. Imagine everything I've described. Trench silence, a mass that moves like it owns the water around it, and someone thinks, now's the time to touch the hull and say hi. Really think about that. Nobody touched the hull. This thing didn't need a knock to know we were in there. It already knew, and it didn't care.
Bro, anyone out there that's want to be like, why don't you go up and try to talk to it? You go first, man. You go first. We'll give you a Lockheed Martin submersible. You go talk to the alien megalithic structure that's probably just an AI. You're like, good luck trying to reason with it or whatever the heck you're going to do. That can, by the way, it can just teleport and deatomize you. So enjoy. Fine, I will, John says. We're sending John, megalithic structure that's out there. John's coming.
OP again. I've been painfully consistent about staying grounded in facts, sonar, logged events, first-hand accounts. I've told people to read, to verify, to follow the data. And your reply is a link talking about USOs off the coast of California. Let me ask you a real tough one. Is California near the Atlantic Ocean? Then you follow that up with a YouTube video of a guy drawing doodles under the title of remote viewing, which might be the most unintentionally hilarious thing I've seen today. That stuff belongs in a psychic hotline commercial, not in conversation about military incidents involving lost submarines. This right here.
Oh my God. Get absolutely wrecked, remote viewers. My man hates you guys. Holy crap. Does he hate you guys? Guys, I don't know who this leaker is, but I love him. I just love that he takes no shit. He's like, why are you sending me doodles on a page asking me if I remote viewed it? He's like, why are you talking about airplanes disappearing? And he's talking about MH370. He's like, why are you talking about California? Is California near the Atlantic Ocean? I love people like this because you can tell this is somebody that just doesn't take any crap on the internet from like anybody acting like an idiot. Like, if you're not keeping up to speed with the conversation, this dude's just going to rip you apart.
This scattershot, coast-swapped, new age flavor homework is exactly why disinformation works. Flood the topic with enough garbage and people stop being able to tell the signal from the static. If you want to chase flashing lights in the sky, be my guest. I'll keep talking about what's in the water, where it actually happened.
So that's a big point too, right? Is that how do you keep this stuff hidden? You flood everything with so much bullshit that nobody can distinguish reality anymore. And the best example for me is when they were trying to say MH370 was because of the 4 semiconductor engineers and scientists on board the plane. None of those people were on board the plane. But the motive is the Freescale semiconductor engineers. So why did they push out this bullshit narrative of these 4 people that all anybody had to do was just check and see if those people were on the plane? They weren't. They push out this bullshit narrative. Oh, these 4 people were on the plane and they had this patent and that's why the plane disappeared. Because that covers for the real story, which is that it really was espionage related to those 20 Freescale semiconductor engineers. It just wasn't related to some people on the 4 people on a patent. And it makes it super easy to discredit. Because you push a fake story out there and you say, oh, the conspiracy theorists think that these 4 people thought those people were on the plane and they didn't even check. They're idiots. That's how conspiracy theorists always are. That's what they do. It's exactly what they do. So I don't know. I read this and I go, well, this is either somebody that's just kind of awake to the situation and aware of what's going on, and they're just blowing some steam off. Or maybe this is really somebody who's in the know. Maybe this is somebody who's really in the know.
Again, this is what I mean. Like, there's so much
Josh gets so upset at the unnecessary shots. He was probably triggered when I was taking shots at Danny and Julian.
And what they told us didn't make sense. Imagine watching a cliff wall on sonar that you know has been there the whole patrol. Then suddenly it slides sideways, like it's checking to see if you're still looking. Not fast enough to be aggressive, just fast enough to say, I'm not hiding from you, I'm ahead of you. As for finding it or being found by it, the Hampton was on an oceanographic survey and surveillance mission. That's public record. We were out there doing recon, standard patrol, no weapons hot, no drama. We weren't looking for trouble, but we were somewhere we probably shouldn't have been, and we weren't alone. And let's not gloss over what no one seems to talk about. We are discussing a nuclear-powered attack submarine, one of the most advanced machines humanity has ever built. And something out there flipped it off like a light switch. That's not a sensor blip. That's not a software fault. That's a message. You want to bait that into the air? Really think about that. We were sitting inside one of the most advanced submarines on Earth, and it made another one vanish. No distress call, no fallback, no trace. You think scrambling jets at its next move? How do you think that plays out? That is probably why we haven't tried to engage. Not directly. It's not disrupting trade routes. It's not surfacing. It's just down there, watching, moving, waiting. So creepy.
Wow. And you know what's crazy about that is that made me think of when Salvatore Pais, remember, Sal Pais is a U.S. Navy engineer. When he said that I believe in human technology, for me, the narrative that I absorbed from that, when he said, I believe in human technology, Salvatore Pais was saying, we have to figure out the alien technology for ourselves. We have to make our own versions of the alien technology. That's what I think he meant. And we're going to get into why I think that's important in a second. But what this would imply is that if there is this giant base out there, that it's potentially neutral. It's potentially neutral. It's potentially just this giant thing that's out there. It's got some objective that we are potentially not aware of, but it's not destroying us. Okay. Let's skip ahead a little bit.
Mission type and real consequences. And now you are talking about celestial craft maintained by some kind of planetary maintenance fleet, linking it to your body temperature and CRT monitors. Really think about what you're saying. You're trying to mix Earth's environmental collapse, auditory hallucinations, UAPs, and a Trello board like it is all part of the same briefing. That is next level insane when you stack it next to the hard facts of nuclear-powered submarines being shut down like a toy and another platform vanishing without a trace. This is not about tribes or resistance cells. It is about what actually happened to trained professionals on a live mission. This kind of metaphysical noise is exactly how people lose the plot. You are not decoding anything. You are muddying everything. Keep your performance art somewhere else. This thread is for people who want to understand what we actually encountered.
So that's a very harsh statement to make right there, but it's also pretty important. It's like, you have to remember, we have to start with the facts and the foundations of the evidence. I know a lot of people, even from the beginning, wanted me to jump straight into what does 0 point energy mean for the nature of our consciousness and reality and all this stuff and blah, 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 right? But you can't start there. And a lot of people can't help themselves but to immediately try to make sense of everything, connect everything that's out there. And that's what he's saying here is that stop trying to connect everything. Stop trying to find how this connects to that. Just focus on the fact that a submarine disappeared and there was people on that, real people. They disappeared. Their families probably never know the truth, etc. You know why that hits me so hard? Because that's the same as MH370. With MH370, same situation is that at the end of the day, we have to remember there's 239 people that disappeared. Those people never got the truth for what ultimately happened. We're trying to connect every answer to everything in the world related to this energy and what happened to MH370. But end of the day, the most important thing is the United States government needs to admit what they did to the plane. They need to admit what they did to the plane. The most important part of this submarine thing is who or what made a submarine disappear in 2001 to 2005, apparently. Assuming it really did.
So again, this guy has absolutely zero time for, did we just do the same score? If you're enjoying this so far, and it's free. Continuing on with the OP now. The platform that went missing was an experimental fast attack sub, customized by Lockheed Martin with exotic materials. It was not built by them, but they had their hands in the systems, stuff most of us had only seen in theory. We were told it was safe. As for how high my access went, enough to be trusted, enough to know what not to ask. That's something that all of these like whistleblowers say. It's like at a certain point, not what to. Sometimes it lingers. Most nations never get close. When they do, a few might quietly converge on the area. No weapons out, just observation. That alone should tell you something. And that tracks with like so much of the whistleblower stuff we've heard, not even from 4chan, but about.
One of the reasons why this story is compelling there, another one reason that was brought up is that it says everybody avoids it. We need this UFO topic needs an answer that explains why nobody is saying what it is. Why is China? Why is the UK? Why is Russia? Why is Japan not yelling and saying, okay, guys, the reptilians are real? Well, maybe because there's a giant underwater monolithic base that might wipe us all out at any moment, and we're all just too afraid to even acknowledge its existence. I really hope that's not true, chat. Out of all the things that might be scarier than the United States government having teleportation technology, it's pretty far up there.
People, Matthew Brown just this week talking about America surveilling Russia, who seem to be surveilling or no one says it directly, but the silence between nations when it shows up is louder than anything. You can feel the shared hands-off policy. The rumor that makes the most sense is the exotic material on the missing sub may have triggered something. No impact, no distress call, just gone. We were close, too close. The object did not find the sub. It may have reacted to it. We were not supposed to be there, and we were not supposed to be carrying what we had. That's interesting because he doesn't really expand on what that means.
I think there was a part earlier here as well that said that the sub might use some kind of neutrino reactor. Well, I've come to learn that neutrinos are just subatomic particles. So neutrinos could maybe be just seen as like the ether, depending on what your review is. So the fact that this sub had some kind of neutrino thing going on it means it definitely had some advanced technology. So the theory is that this sub had some advanced technology that might be reverse engineered UFO technology that the base recognized. This is going to be the scariest part about this whole thing. So let's finish this actually.
What did they have that they weren't meant to? I clearly mentioned that they were not the same class platform. One was a standard US Navy nuclear fast attack. The other was an experimental platform customized by Lockheed with non-standard systems and materials. Side note, and I should not have to keep repeating this. I have a very specific way of responding. If it does not follow the pattern, it is not me. The post you are talking about broke that pattern if you look closely. So he's just referring there because on 4chan, you're anonymous. It's kind of hard to tell who's who, and perhaps some.
Okay, one sec.
OP. TD65 is typically locked in the vertical position during rig for dive. If you know what that means, you already understand it is not a detail I would throw around lightly if I was not familiar with the layout. Now, with that out of the way, if you seriously believe I'm talking about a standard documented vessel with the layout you just rattled off from memory or a manual, then we are not having the same conversation. I clearly said it was not a listed platform.
Okay, let's not. I don't need to hear him rage anymore. Okay, let me see. Okay, so then he talks a little bit more about the submarine. Now I can see what's going on here. I think there's one more post at the end. Here it is, last one.
Said they ceased to exist. I said they not once. Okay, sorry, he's not replying to that person.
Here we go.
I said they vanished. I said they went missing. I said they ceased to exist. I said there was a total systems loss with no distress call and no return. I said they were gone. That is very different from saying they were confirmed dead. You want bodies and a hull. So do we. But when a platform goes silent mid-patrol with classified materials on board in direct proximity to an unknown presence and is never seen again, we do not need to guess what category that falls under. You want to call it MIA, fine. But do not pretend I said otherwise. Every word I have used has been deliberate.
I can't help but see a connection to MH370 there, right? We want bodies. We want a hull. There isn't one. Neither of those. We got no bodies from any of the MH370 people, no hull either. The way he described it, the way he describes the submarine disappearing, he's saying that the sensors made no sense. The sensor data made no sense. It just wasn't there anymore. He's saying this is not any kind of normal human chemical reaction that we know of. What he's really saying when you read between the lines, he's saying this was a gravitational interaction. Somebody wormholed that submarine. They wormholed it. And you can tell that they think that because he says their belief is that it absorbed it back into the collective. That's teleportation. That's what they're saying right there. Short range teleportation. Absorbing it back into the collective. And this is also scary because this is what Salvatore Pais has been saying about potentially we can achieve a level of material science where we can just atomically build anything we need. So you can imagine this base is just straight up building UFOs, like 3D printing them from the actual molecules. And as some people are saying, who disappeared? That's a great question. If we knew who was on the submarine, we could figure out, oh, they mysteriously died. There has to be some cover story. So if people do want to dig into this, there is verifiable information. If I were you guys who wants to dig into this story, I would go to Bob McGuire first because apparently he knows about it. Have him give us the names of the other submarines or whatever was going on. Any info he knows. This person's implying that he saw something, that he saw some evidence. So, I mean, if this happened, like this is, to me, this, if there's an explanation, if that really occurred, that is clearly gravity manipulation being used. I don't know if it's alien gravity manipulation or breakaway human or what. I don't care. But that what's being described there is definitely gravity manipulation.
You clearly have not been listening. I have said more than once, it is mobile. It does not sit in one place waiting for your microphone and good intentions. It moves, it watches. Sometimes it lets you see it. Most of the time, it does not. Okay, so I think he's replying now to the person from earlier who was volunteering themselves to go and talk to it. But sure, go ahead. Ask someone to sit right above the spot where a sub might have been vaporized. Tell them to dip a mic in the water and say hello like they are checking in with customer service. Let me know how that goes when the sonar cuts out and the pressure changes without warning. You are talking about chatting with something that erased a platform without a sound. There is a reason no one goes back. There is a reason no one tries that approach. I know
that's pretty wild. Like, this person sounds like, to me, like somebody that is just jaded as hell. They're so jaded. And they're like, you want to go be the hero? You go do it. I've been on the submarine. I sat next to the thing on the submarine. I shit my pants. I shit my pants. I peed my pants. And I never want to see that again. I mean, that's somebody who is traumatized. That's what it feels like. Somebody who's traumatized and the world is oblivious to it. We are straight up oblivious to this information, and they are traumatized by it. And to me, that's the reason why they're, acting the way they are, lashing out the way they are.
No, you are not talking to me directly, and most of what you are saying reads like a mix of sarcasm, speculation, drugs, and frustration. That is fine. But I can answer a few parts based on the ongoing theory. No, the theory is not that it saw the sub as a threat. The theory is that the object, or whatever it is, recognized part of the materials on board as familiar, possibly even native to itself, and it pulled them back in, reassimilated them, not as an attack, just as a function. The people on board were just in the way, wrong place, wrong time. You are applying intent where there might have only been process. As for saying hello, that is not my term. That is the kind of language people use when they are trying to make this thing understandable. There was no communication. There was no recognition. It did not care we were there. It just did what it does, and a classified platform disappeared without a trace. So, again, going back to the old whistleblower thread, there was very much the idea that whatever this enormous thing is that moves around in the ocean.
So if it's assimilating things, I mean, oops, well, that's good enough. We'll end that watching that there. So if it's potentially assimilating it, this might be a situation where this is actually just like a program running a script. And what freaks me out about this is that, let's think about an AI for a second. Like, assuming there's an AI here, some giant platform that's an AI that's building UFOs. If I'm building an AI and I want it to do something for me, some thought I had earlier today is, why do I want to make it complicated? Why not just make it simple? I want it to do one simple function: protect Earth, or maybe keep Earth protected, or keep it in a bubble. So here's some thoughts that I had. One is that this could be something, if this is really down there, it could be harvesting resources. It could be out there harvesting resources from our planet, sending the resources back to Zeta Reticuli. Do I think that's the case? No, because I'm pretty sure we can transmute matter straight out of the ether. So I don't think this thing should need resources at all to function. It should be able to produce all the resources it needs straight from space-time itself, if it's that advanced. So I'm not really believing that's the case. One other option is it could be defending us. This could be something protecting Earth. Welcome to Earth. It could be protecting us because it's a really scary place out there, and there's a lot of predators out there with gravity technology. And we are a fragile civilization that could be easily wiped out by them. And so it's here because if anything else gets close, that it will just wipe it out. If it detects a hostile civilization trying to harm us, it's just going to annihilate them. Just annihilate them. It could just be like some kind of automated defense thing. Like when you have a baby, you leave a little baby monitor by the baby, just in case the baby does something. This could be like our baby monitor. We have a little baby monitor here on Earth, just keeping us safe, just in case. The real one that freaks me out, though, is that this could be our jailer. This thing could be a jailer. This could be something that is making sure that we never escape. It could be something that says, never let them get to gravity technology. If they get to gravity technology, wipe them out. The leaker that we were just listening to speculated that what if someone programmed it a long time ago, like 1,000 years ago, and 1,000 years ago, humans didn't have gravity technology. So you could make a distinction and say things that have gravity technology versus things that don't. But now that's not the case. I don't think that's how it would have been programmed. I think it's more nefarious than that if that's the case. I believe the Gurren Lagann scenario. If you guys don't know the Gurren Lagann scenario, here it comes. The scary part to me is a prison planet scenario. If we are incorporating non-human intelligence in this scenario, is a prison planet scenario in which the aliens are keeping us prisoner here. And they're not even here. They're just remotely somewhere else on their own planet. They just keep their AI prison guard here to keep us locked down. And anytime we reach a certain level of technological advancement, they just beam in, they teleport in instantly, they phase in, wipe us out. Send us back to the Stone Ages. Glass the whole planet, start over again. That's the scenario that keeps me up at night. Why? Because think about the way the world is acting to this information. If that leaker is correct and everybody knows about this UFO water base, why aren't our crafts flying around? Why aren't they using gravity technology? Why aren't our airplanes using gravity technology? Why is nobody publicly bringing this up? Because they're afraid that somebody's going to build some of this stuff and get us all wiped out. They're afraid that somebody will trip the trap, and all of a sudden the aliens are going to teleport in and wipe us all out. Because they know that there's alien civilizations that have magical level technology compared to where we're at. And we need to buy as much time as we can buy to catch up. We got to catch up, buy as much time as we can to buy before they show up so that we can fight back. Yeah, it's basically a dark forest type scenario and a little bit of three-body problem type scenario, right? We don't know. They could show up at any moment. And when we spring the trap, when we show that we have warp drive, and now the aliens come in, we've got to be ready to fight back at the moment that happens. And let's be honest, we have no chance. We have no chance whatsoever. No, we're not caught up. We have no chance. Against a civilization that is 1 million years old, we have no chance. None. They'll wipe us out without us even thinking twice. Even with teleportation technology, makes no difference whatsoever. Wow, actually, I think I hit most of my talking points right there. I'm just looking over the list. Oh, one other thing I want to bring up here is that the disclosure people, the woke disclosure people, they never bring up leakers like this. And you may say, well, yeah, it's just some Redditor. Well, who are they promoting as their whistleblowers? They're just some random guys. Matt Brown? What physical evidence has Matt Brown provided? None. He's literally just told stories. I'd rather at least go with the people telling stories that are like compelling, like that story that we just read, versus stories of, yeah, so the government has a bunch of videos, but who cares? Don't ever think about it. Like, what is Matt Brown actually telling us? Matt Brown's going, yep, there's a immaculate constellation, this whole repository of videos that they're hiding. Okay, well, what do the videos look like? What kind of videos are they? What have you seen of those videos? Why are we not demanding those videos be released publicly? If you had some of those videos, then you've got a story. If Matt Brown is leaking Immaculate Constellation and he's got Immaculate Constellation videos, now we've got Pulitzer Prize stuff. Now we're ready to go. If he's just coming out and saying this stuff, that's no different than somebody on 4chan just going, hey, I was part of a UFO underwater crash retrieval team or whatever this guy was doing on the submarine. So it's like, why are these people... I don't know how they ignore a lot of this stuff. Now, and you may say, how do you, sift between the stuff that's good versus not? I mean, you guys can tell reading that aligns very closely with what we already know to be true. So that's already good enough for me. Why do I show videos like the 3 orbs video? I'll show this one as well. Because honestly, this video I'm about to show you, this is the best UFO video I've ever seen other than MH370. Is it this one? I don't know which one. Yeah. It's actually the best video I've ever seen. Why did I share this? Because it's just the best video I've ever seen. And it aligns exactly with what we're looking at in the MH370 videos. And how do you know when something's good? I don't know, because I'm literally looking at a professional camera here. They tell you what kind of camera it is. They tell you the date, the time, the location. That's not birds, because you can tell what birds look like in infrared. It's pretty easy to see birds. It's also not planes either. So pretty wild. Although, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is birds at a super far distance. Why did it stop? Oh, okay. But yeah, this is one of the better UFO videos that I've seen. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's birds. It does a weird move right there. That move. I guess it could be birds still. Who knows? Anyway, that was just bringing that up for another point. Let me hit up some of these donos real quick, guys. Matt, thank you for the cookie. Do you think the sub was trying to retrieve ancient runes and tech under the ocean when it disappeared? I didn't even think about that. Maybe. The guy said they shouldn't have been there. So maybe that was some kind of forbidden location that they were trying to get stuff. And why would there be 3 submarines there too? None of it really makes a lot of sense, but it does make sense that if there is stuff that crashed into the planet, that it would be in the water. If there are UFOs that crashed on this Earth, them being in the water is just as viable as them being somewhere on the land. That actually makes more sense if you think about it. So thank you, Matt, for the cookies and the continuous donations. And Woken Walked said, gold pills. I don't know what these mean. William J. Casey was a CIA director from 1981 to 1987. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. Very true. And thank you, Sean Joe, for the cookies, bro. You guys are awesome in the pilled chat. You see the anonymous electrical engineer dropping the BAS documents? Yes, I did take a look at the beginning of the stream. Woke societies, I reviewed that at the beginning. So we had a double whammy of anonymous whistleblowers here tonight. Thank you guys on the Rumble chat as well. I appreciate you guys. And let's hit up some of these last donos in the YouTube. Please look into Robert Staubbacher and his passing. Yeah, I've heard his name. Thank you very much for the donation. Dominique, you notice that Hal's headphones stopped working when asked about the underwater base near California? Yeah, that was unusual too. We did review the underwater base, the California underwater base claim as well, where there seems to be some weird underwater oceanography stuff. And the NOAA, the National Oceanography Whatever Association, they're also pretty sketchy. There's been some whistleblowers related to them that's claimed that there's aliens underneath the water or what have you. War Ranch, Navy SEAL DBT teams have some of the most advanced tech. I believe you, brother. I believe you. Delos Quant System, USA Quantum Design. Enjoy. Thank you. Aaron Rubin, customized with Lockheed Martin material. This statement proves a lot. Thank you, Ashton. Yeah, that's the thing too, where it's like I mean, is it just an open secret at this point? Like Lockheed Martin has a UFO. Have they ever denied it? Has anybody just asked them? Maybe we just go knock on Lockheed Martin's door and be like, hey, you actually have a UFO? Maybe we just have to keep it simple. Maybe we're overthinking this. Maybe we don't need disclosure bills or like grand proclamations. Maybe we just go and ask them, hey, you got some UFOs in here? Let us have some teleportation tech. Why y'all being stingy? Pass some of that teleportation tech. We got poor people out here. You got free energy? Yo, puff, puff, pass. You know what I'm saying? Jay Varga 2. If keeping us in Earth's prison, what are we prisoners for? Why do they even need or care about humans? Well, what about this? What if they just don't care at all? What if they don't need us and they don't care? What if they just want to make sure we don't advance too far? What if they don't care what we do as long as we don't become interstellar? That's how I look at it. Because you're right. What is the point? I don't believe they're harvesting our souls or any creepy, weird shit like that. I'm not against it. I'm just saying I don't believe that's the case. It just seems too far out there. I just think they don't care about us. They don't need us. They don't need our souls. They don't need our planet. They don't need our resources. They just don't care about us. The only thing they care about is we don't mess with them. We don't destroy their shit. We don't destroy this universe. And as long as we don't get 0-point energy technology, we will never destroy this universe. Nukes are never going to destroy this planet. Nukes are never going to destroy this universe. 0-point energy technology will. And it might be a threat to them. I mean, we're talking about moving up the technology scale from down here to through the roof. That's how big of a jump this is. It's like, do you care if there's primitive cave people living on an island somewhere? No, because it has no impact to you. If those primitive cave people start getting machine guns and paratrooping down into your backyard, yeah, you're going to start caring really, really, really quickly. And that's how it works as well for us. We don't give a shit what primitives do. People in third worlds do. When they start messing with us, when they start hijacking ships, trade routes, that's when we go and we take care of business. So we should proceed with caution if there is some secret underwater base. Absolutely. Do you think James Cameron could have inside info when he made The Abyss? I still have not seen this, but I think this person even mentioned it. Apparently this story is like, yeah, there's some secret underwater creatures or what have you. And there's another thing too, where apparently there's some lake. Ooh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Some lake in Russia where they dug into the ice and supposedly found some like sea creatures under the water too. It's a myth story, but it might be, might basis in reality. And then of course, when we look in the sky, we see stuff like Europa and all these planets where we should ask the question, why is it that we think that beings that live on the earth like we are, why do we think that's the most common form of life? What if the most common form of life is ocean worlds or worlds where they're frozen over, but there's an ocean inside of it? To me, if I really think that water is essential to life, then I would expect there to be life underwater more often than above water. Heck, if you're looking at a planet, I would even wonder, how does a life even exist on the surface of the planet exposed to outer space? We're like literally exposed to outer space. There's no ceiling over the top of us. And of course, the answer is the atmosphere and the pressure, but I'm just giving you a context where it seems like water would be even safer, So, there it is. Lake Baikal. Thank you very much. Lake Baikal. Chat is moving too fast. I can't even keep track. So my final assessment is this. No matter what the answer to the UFO phenomenon is, whether or not the aliens exist or if they are, let's say, malicious or malevolent or benevolent, or if they're neutral, it doesn't matter. No matter what they are, we would want to reverse engineer the technology. And I'm very, very sure we know exactly what it is because we've seen some of their secret footage. And their secret footage is really, really, really good. The MH370 videos show they really, really do have gravity manipulation technology. We've seen it. So they know what this UFO stuff is. And if they didn't know what it was, they would be calling me up to go help them, like the movie Independence Day. They would be like, there's this social media influencer that has got the inside track to figure out phase conjugation and four-wave pump mixing. We got to bring him in so we can help explain what these aliens are and where they're coming from. Because why wouldn't they? It would cost them nothing to do that. The reason why they're not doing that is because they already know exactly what this shit is. And they're going, damn it, there's another social media influencer. We got to kill another one. And then they go, oh, wait, guys, this one's an American. And he doesn't even have any NDAs or anything. They're like, damn, that makes it really complicated. Don't worry. We have loopholes for that. I'm just kidding. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you for listening. On Friday, we are going to talk about black holes, wormholes, quantum entanglement. We are going to review the Lex Friedman podcast with some physicist lady who I'm sure is very nice, and I just can't remember her name. Let's just call her Sarah. We're going to review it with Sarah. It's actually a really good podcast, and we're going to dig hard into the science. We're going to understand black holes, wormholes, the connections. And we're going to flex a little bit. We're going to flex our intellectual muscles, our big old brains. And we're going to dab on Lex Friedman. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Woke and Walk. Thank you guys in the Pill chat. Thank you in the Rumble chat. Peace out, MH370X. Love y'all. Later.
Infrared eyes, scanning the black. Tracking the heat, never turning back. Control 22, a covert gaze. Control 33, in the cosmic maze. Controls in the mix, secrets untold. Silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interests, far and wide. As fears, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. In the silence of space, they keep their post, shields unseen yet feared the most. With precision and speed, they warn of danger, keeping us safe from the missile's anger. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. And roles in the mix, secrets untold, silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interests far and wide. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching